Hello, it's sunset here in Bella Vista Lakes. This is Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're doing another one of our floating book reviews. Of course, we're on the Monopoly Project yacht. Every successful real estate investor has a yacht, and unfortunately today it's the Bikini Girls' day off, so you just have me manning the boat. And today we're going to review a book called the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. And it's an ebook. You can print it out for free online, and so there's no real actual book, but you can print it out literally for free. You don't even have to put in your email address or anything like that. So this is the cover if you had printed it out. So I'm going to go through some of the things that Naval talks about. He talks a lot about business and how to be successful in business, but he also goes into health issues and spiritual issues. I'll spend a little less time on those latter two, but I will make some comments on them. So again, we're going to go over this book, and I'm going to turn the boat around and head back home and talk a little about this book. Okay, we're back. We're going to talk about, again, this book, this ebook, which is free online, and the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. Ravikant is he started a bunch of internet businesses. He blogs. He's an angel investor now, and he has a lot of interesting views on life and how to be successful. And so the book actually was not written by Naval himself. It was compiled by his friend Eric Jorgensen, who's also a serial entrepreneur and angel investor. So I'm going to go through this, and basically I'm going to make some comments about the book, about some of the contents of the book. And I want to start, the introduction is written by Tim Ferriss, who is yet another well-known blogger, businessman, starter, internet startup guy and everything. But he offered to write the foreword to the book, which he usually doesn't do. But he made a comment that when I first started reading the book, I knew I was going to like this book, because he said, he's listing all the attributes of Naval, and there's a lot of good ones. And the last one, he said, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. And so I really like that, because I think that's an important character trait in somebody who's successful. So that sets the whole stage for this book. You can see I took a lot of notes. I'm just going to go through a few of them. And so one of the things, and I got the page number references. So the first one that jumped out is on page 31, recording. This was based on Naval's tweets and comments and such, compiled again by Eric. But he says, seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets to earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy. Ignore people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth creation games. You're not going to get... So basically, he's saying is that there's two kinds of games in the world. One is is earning wealth, and the other is a status one. And I think he's right in that. And I think too much of our time is consumed in this status game. So I think that's a fundamental truth that he lists. And then another one is one of my favorites, and he's going to say it a few more times, is you're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of business, to gain your financial freedom. And again, he's absolutely right about that. We've said that. Felix Dennis, in our previous Monopoly book, floating book reviews, when we reviewed his book, he made that comment. And so it's another important thing is, if you're just going to work as a worker, you're not going to get rich, unless you're Michael Jackson or somebody like that, who has superstar status and can make 20 or 30 or $100 million a year. So one of the things, the main points of his book or his thoughts, is that the internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured that out yet, and I think he's right. Even though we think we're late in the internet game. It started in the 90s, but we're actually just starting. And so, and basically, the reason why he says this is that he says fortunes require leverage. Business leverage comes from capital, people, or products with no marginal cost of replication. And so basically, capital means, of course, having a lot of money and putting it to work. Labor, of course, means having a whole lot of people work for you. And finally, the third one is products with no marginal cost of replication. That's basically internet-based things like Google, where the store just keeps going, or a website that just sells content that once it's been created doesn't need to be recreated, and the marginal cost of selling it is basically zero. So, and he goes on to say, you know, labor means people working for you. It's the oldest and most fought over method, but labor leverage will impress your parents, but don't spend your life chasing it, because it is a lot of work to manage people. So, and the other thing, the good point he makes is that capital and labor, you need permission of the authorities to do it. Basically, you need to follow all the regulations and laws and rules, and even you need to be in with the crowd that's running your society, or they'll chase you out of it. Whereas he says, you know, code and media, you know, the internet type things are permissionless. At this point, that's still true, although we'll see how long that lasts. Jumping on just a general philosophy from Naval, he says reading is faster than listening, doing is faster than watching, and I highlight that because I agree with it 100%. He goes on to, one of the key elements you should either have or you can learn is that there's such a thing as a natural in sales. You run into them all the time. But he says there are naturals, but you can improve your skills, and you can do training seminars and so on and so forth. You can practice, and one of the things he mentions is Robert Cialdini, I think I'm pronouncing that right, who wrote the book on how to persuade people, and there's 6 key elements of persuasion, and that is an absolutely must-read book if you want to be able to persuade anybody or sell anything. And he goes on to say another interesting thing. He says is that basic arithmetic and numeracy are way more important in life than doing calculus. And I think he's absolutely right. In our context, the Monopoly Project, you can do real estate investing with 8th grade arithmetic and a mortgage payoff table. They used to print those in the old days on a piece of paper that if you borrow this many thousand, you'd pay back this much per month. Now, of course, we have calculators, so we can do it without that. But it's true that you don't need to be a genius in math to make money in business, especially real estate. You just need to be able to add and subtract, multiply, divide, basically 8th grade. So I'm going to turn the boat around here. Unfortunately, my crew is gone, so I'm doing all this myself. And so basically, coming back to the point about owning a piece of business or an asset that makes money, he says, if you don't own a piece of business, you don't have a path towards financial freedom. It's ownership versus wage work. If you're paid out for renting your time, even lawyers and doctors make some money, but you're not going to make money that gives you financial freedom. And again, that of course excludes people like Michael Jackson or NBA stars or, you know, superstars in any one endeavor, especially in the entertainment industry. But even they make a lot of their money from the actual created things they created, such as the Beatles owning the rights to their song. I think Paul McCartney bought up the rights to all the Beatles songs, and it's now worth a fortune. I think he also bought the rights to Michael Jackson songs. And then going on, when talking about his working versus owning, he says an old boss once warned him when he was still a W-2 working employee, you'll never be rich since you're obviously smart, and someone will always offer you a job that's just good enough. And that's true, as most people get seduced by the ability to earn money, because once you start earning money, like I did, it was more money than I'd ever had in my life. And it was easy just to keep doing that and getting raises and getting praise and all these things and having the satisfaction of doing a good job. In the meantime, you were making your employers rich off of your labor. And so it's very easy to get caught in that, you know, trap of earning money as opposed to having a business that actually makes money even in your absence. That's sort of the end. You know, that was page 75. The book, I think the e-book is like 200 pages. So and they're really short. They're really short and pithy. So it's actually probably more like a 100-page book. But I did want to say is that that's sort of the end of where he talks about business and such, and now he starts to go into health and such, and then later into spiritual issues. So I'm not going to go a long way into that because it's not relevant to the Monopoly Project, and also it's somewhat contentious. But I will make a few comments. He makes a comment on page 77, there's almost 7 billion people on this planet. Someday I hope there'll be almost 7 billion companies. And this is his idea that everybody should be their own entrepreneur, their own brand, their own business. And I think this is where Naval and a lot of really smart people make a fundamental mistake in life, or two fundamental mistakes in life. One is that they believe that everybody is like them and everybody has their skills and abilities, and that they want to be like them, and that's just not true. Most people are happy just being employees and making their money and then going off on their own time and doing their life. The other one is that fundamentally the meaning of life is not creating wealth, it's other things, and now we go into the spirituality. But to become rich is not necessarily the right choice, and I think again Felix Dennis mentioned that in his book and in our previous review of it. So it's probably getting too dark for you to see me, but I do like a bunch of the things he says. Like, I think business networking is a complete waste of time. That's an interesting comment. Of course, it's easy for him to say that because he's famous and people come to him. I think when you're starting out, you do need to do some sort of networking. And then here's the really important thing. He says, I know many very wealthy people who are unhappy, and that's absolutely true. Wealth doesn't bring happiness. Again, Felix Dennis pounds that point away in his book. And then another one, amazing how many people confuse wealth and wisdom, and you see that now whenever there's a current social problem, they go find some billionaire to give the solution to, even though he absolutely has no ability, experience, or skills in that area. You know, one name that comes to mind, of course, is Bill Gates. Whenever there's a problem, Bill Gates is up there with his advice. And then finally, I'll probably end this now, but I do want to talk about, to me, one of the most important things that he realizes and that I've been a student of for a very long time, and that is, let me read it to you. To me, the principal agent problem is the single most fundamental problem in microeconomics. If you do not understand the principal agent problem, you will not know how to navigate your way through this world. And I absolutely 100% agree with him, and that's one of the reasons why I really like this book and recommend it. I will talk a little about the principal agent in the blog that goes with this video, but basically the principal agent problem question in economics is, if you hire an agent, an insurance agent, a doctor, a CPA, a lawyer, how do you know they're operating in your best interests instead of their own best interests? How do you incentivize them so that they operate in your best interests while still doing the best job possible? This is a problem in economics, microeconomics, but it's also a fundamental problem in the world of outside of economic agents. Most of our lives are through agents. It goes all the way to the most intimate details of your life. Is how do you know your parents are operating in your best interest as opposed to theirs? How do you know your children are? How do you know your doctor is? How do you know your friends? So this is basically the fundamental question in life, and it comes down to eventually. In the blog, I'll talk a little about the principal agent question with regards to God and Jesus. So in any case, like I said, there's still more going on. He talks about that. I'm going to see real quick if there's anything else. Okay, I'm just about done. He does mention Scott Adams, and I'm a big Scott Adams fan. And Scott Adams, the day you became a better writer, it's like a 2-paragraph long thing telling you how to write really good stuff. I'm still absorbing it and trying to do it, but it is true, so that's another good one. So I think that's it. That was page 222 is where it starts the appendix and a bunch of references. But in any case, on 220, he mentioned Scott Adams and the Day Became a Better Writer as a recommended reading. He has some very good recommended reading type at the end. So in any case, I think we're done with our review right now of the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. And I'll try and get a little better shot than that with the wind starting to blow here on Val Vista Lakes. Thank you again. This is Jim for the Monopoly Project, and we will see you on the next floating book review. Thank you very much.